But right now, let's talk about where the Celtics are. They are ridiculous. That's where they are. The Boston Celtics, as of right now, the time of recording, obviously things can change with one bad game. But right now, the Boston Celtics have the highest offensive efficiency in NBA history with well over 120. And it's just incredible to fathom that. Last year, the Boston Celtics, the offense couldn't keep up with the Golden State Warriors. Granted, few offenses reasonably can, but they couldn't keep up. And now, nobody can keep up with the Boston Celtics on the offensive end of the floor, which, again, just thinking where we were 6 months ago, crazy. But not only do they have the highest offensive efficiency in the history of basketball right now, they have the highest offensive efficiency by leaps and bounds in the league right now. The difference between the difference between the Boston Celtics offensive efficiency and the second place Sacramento Kings is the same difference between the Sacramento Kings in second place and 19th place Phoenix. So, you're lapping the field if you are the Boston Celtics on the offensive side of the floor. And they have just had a nice, reasonably length homestand where they have really been able to showcase their dominance. And the craziest part of all of it is they are doing it most of the time without one or more of your starters. Now, obviously, Robert Williams III is your starting center when he's healthy. He's been out for the entire season. So, him aside for right now, the other day when the Boston Celtics played the Charlotte Hornets, they did not have Jaylen Brown, and they did not have Al Horford. The night before, the Boston Celtics did not have Jason Tatum. And yet, in both of those games, the first against the Hornets and the other against the Wizards, they both dominated. Both games were dominated by the Boston Celtics, especially on the offensive end. Despite one of your two All-Stars being out for both. And then for another one, two of your starters being out. And that's, again, still not including Robert Williams III, who has been out for the entire season. And he brings a whole nother dynamic to your offense that they just don't have right now in that lob threat, offensive rebounding, everything that you can, and also just more passing out of the center spot. Robert Williams is a great passer. So, you look at what the Celtics are doing, not at full strength, and you sit and you wonder, man, what can they do when they are at full strength? What can they do when they are fully healthy? That's a scary proposition, not just for me as a Celtics fan to kind of theorize, but for the entire NBA. When Robert Williams III comes back, what in the world is that going to look like? Because, I can reasonably see a world where Robert Williams doesn't fit into this particular offensive scheme as well as other guys will. Because Luke Cornett and Al Horford and Mfiondu Kabengele will all kind of step out and shoot threes, along with obviously Grant Williams, Blake Griffin, Noah Vonleh. They can all step out. They can all guard the perimeter, at least mostly, and they can all shoot a little bit. They can all run a little bit and pass a little bit. And I'm not saying that Robert Williams can't do all those things. He can certainly do most of them. But as a shooter, as a floor spacer, that's just not his game. And that's okay. But the Celtics, they love playing 5 out or 4 out and 1 in right now, and I am just interested to see how Robert Williams will fit into that. And again, I'm not saying that he won't. I just can see a world where it's not the best fit in the world. Or where at the very least the Celtics have to change up their offense and it's a little bit less ridiculous than it is right now, or than it has been over the last couple of months. So we are over a quarter of the way into the season at this point, at the time of recording. And the Celtics still have the best offense in the history of the NBA. Now, am I going to say that the Celtics are going to keep up that pace for the rest of the season? Quite frankly, I don't think so. I really don't. I think that when you shoot as many threes as the Celtics have shot, and you really are living on threes right now, I'm talking pretty much every game I have seen, you're over 40% from three as a team shooting. I mean, that's insanity. It's crazy. I am very, very scared as to a possible drop-off. Now, you hope that drop-off happens in the regular season at some point when, it's a few games that don't really matter and the whole team's just cold as ice from three. You can live with that. You can live with a few games where you're like, listen, we're doing the same thing we've been doing all year. They're just not going in, but we'll keep working at it, yada, yada, yada. We'll move on, right? You could be okay with that. But when you are a team that has just lived by the three so much as they have, you just really hope that doesn't happen late in the season or, God forbid, in the postseason. We saw what happened to the Houston Rockets a few years ago. 27 consecutive missed threes in Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals. That is an absolute worst-case scenario nightmare for not just the Celtics, but any team that shoots a high volume of threes in the NBA. And that's where the game is going at this point. And I know that a lot of people hate that. A lot of people don't like that it's such a three-point heavy game now, but the analytics will tell you shoot threes or you shoot layups. Those are your most efficient shots because one, yeah, you're shooting at a little bit lower percentage, but it's more points, so when it goes in, it's more impactful. And the other one, you're a foot away from the basket, so it's pretty easy to go in most of the time. So, when you're a team that shoots as many threes as the Celtics have, or you're a team like the Rockets back in 2016 that shoot ridiculous amounts of threes all the time, then you have to worry about these cold streaks. That's just how it goes. But at the same time, you're willing to accept those cold streaks because you know that those days that you are hitting, you cannot be stopped. So, the Boston Celtics, in a nutshell, are looking like the best team in the NBA right now. I think the only team that's even really close to what they are is the Milwaukee Bucks. They've played fantastic, and I said this last video, but what I didn't touch on was they haven't had Chris Middleton still. He's, getting close to coming back at this point, again, at the time of recording, but he still hasn't been out there. So you're talking about another former All-Star and a guy that's a real key cog in that offense coming back to a team that looks like the second best team in basketball right now. So we're going to see what that looks like very, very soon. But as for the Celtics, again, I said it last video and I'll say it again. I don't really see a team that's going to stop them, that's going to be able to keep up with them, especially out west where it is just a free-for-all right now. There's not a lot of fantastic teams out in the West. There's a few pretty good teams, but there's not really, a dominant team out in the West like there is right now out east with Boston and Milwaukee. So we'll see how it shapes up. But as a Celtics fan, I'm excited. I'm fired up. And I just cannot wait to see where this season goes because I think, again, at least right now, Celtics have a real chance. They really, really do. And, maybe at the trade deadline, if you think you can part with a guy like a Peyton Pritchard, which I'd be sad to see him go, but if you could get a guy like a Jakob Poeltl from the San Antonio Spurs and get insurance for, God forbid if something happened to Al Horford at 36 years of age, or if Robert Williams' recovery doesn't go as you plan and he keeps getting injured and injured and injured and his knees just keep bothering him, you can get that insurance down the road. And again, Peyton Pritchard is, he doesn't play a billion minutes a night, but the minutes he plays are very, very, very important. He's a guy that goes out there and is a spark on offense to get the team going when they're in a cold spell. And he's a dogged defender. He might be a little bit undersized, but he knows body positioning, he knows what he's doing, he's tenacious, and he's not afraid of contact. So he's an important player. But again, I would rather have insurance across the board than way too much depth at one position. And I think with Marcus Smart, Derek White, Malcolm Brogdon, I think you're quite frankly set at guard. Jaylen Brown, obviously, although he's more of a guard forward kind of player. But point being, if you can get a Jakob Poeltl And obviously, Al Horford's contract's going to expire at the end of the season, as is Jakob Pertl's. But if Jakob Pertl will be willing to take $15 million and Al Horford will be willing to take 10, you could really, do some damage for the Celtics, because you'll have your core of Malcolm Brogdon, Marcus Smart, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Al Horford, Jakob Pertl, Robert Williams. There's your 8. And that's not even including Grant Williams, who they could re-sign, quite frankly, at the end of the season, hopefully. That's a core of at least 8 players that are really, really solid and are all fantastic. So, I mean, we'll see if that happens. Would it be the best thing in the world? No. But I think that it's something that the Celtics should explore as the trade deadline kind of looms over the next month or so. But nonetheless, again, I'm super excited as a Celtics fan to see where this goes, and I just cannot wait to continue to give you guys updates on this. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Leave your comments down below, and I look forward to having a conversation with you about it. Hey guys, me again. Thank you so much for watching one of my clips from the Lopes Goes Last podcast. These clips are so much fun to do. I absolutely love making them, and I absolutely love doing them. And this podcast is my baby. So I really want this thing to grow, and I really want it to succeed. So if you did like what you see, please subscribe. Also hit that bell notification so you never miss any one of my episodes or one of my clips like this one. And please do also like and share these videos with your friends and your family so that we can make this thing grow as fast as possible. And I wanted to thank you again so much. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video and have a great rest of your day.